Hey, so I wanted to talk to you real briefly about this something that I keep seeing in my office, right? Are you causing are you causing your own pain in your relationship, right? You may not know that the behavior that your partner has is less impactful depending on how you think about it, right? So I thought of this because last week I had, I guess this week, I had two people come into my office, and both of them were in not so good places. But the reason they were not in good places is because of the things that they were perceiving about what they were seeing. So if you've listened to me for a while, you know that one of the things that I say is you don't see what you think you see, and you don't know what you think you know, right? So on my I think it was on the podcast last week, I talked about how nobody marries who they think they marry. It's not possible for you to marry who you thought you married. Like, folk, you get married, and then a month or two into the marriage is like, man, you change, and this is not the person that I chose. But it is. When you meet someone, most of what you think about them, you make it up. Now, you make it up based on, so you see things, and you do learn things about them. So you have some information. But in getting that information, things that you don't know, you make it up. I was talking to my wife about this topic last night, and we was talking about something in our own relationship, like some misperceptions or whatever. And she was like, man, like, that sucks. Why do we do that? Right? Why do we humans do that? I'll tell you. So we are uncomfortable with what we don't know. We're uncomfortable with missing information. So when you meet someone, we subconsciously will make up the stuff that we don't know, right? So, for example, I've used this example before. You meet a guy, and when you meet him, he's opening doors, and so from that one activity, you conclude that he's a romantic, and then y'all get married, and you realize, man, he's not being romantic like he was before we got married. Well, in his mind, he was never romantic. He never saw opening the door in the romantic category, and it was never a big deal to him, so he stopped. So anyway, um, I wanted to talk about this because it's a some of you are thinking about, or probably already have, in the past, whatever. But some of you are thinking about ending your relationship because you think it's so bad and they're treating you so bad. I want to help you save your relationship and your marriage by changing your perception. So now, I'm not telling you something that I myself did not do. I had to do this myself. Right? I came into this marriage with certain perceptions, ideas, right? Most of them subconscious, just like you. But the struggles that we had early on, let me say it this way. Because I don't want to, because I really want to make this personal to you and not both of you, right? Because I'm talking to you. So in my marriage, when I was having a difficult time in the beginning, the reason I'm not having a difficult time now has very, 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 very little to do with my wife. And the reason I say very little, as opposed to it don't have anything to do with her, because I'm not thinking right now, it may have, like, she may have changed some things, I don't know. But ultimately, I changed. What did I change? My perception of what I was seeing. So on one hand, I let some things just stop bothering me. But on the other hand, I learned more about her and learned more about me, and realized there are things that I had on the high shelf, meaning these things are important. But in reality, they was important not because God says they're important, or not because they're actually important. They were important to me. And that's important, right? Things that are important to you are important to you. But things that are important to you, that's not like the end all be all to everything. If it is, we call that pride. You're going to make yourself unhappy. You're going to make yourself unhappy, right? So, the reason we all the reason we don't no one marries who they think they marry is because you've heard me talk about we all have these different internal dictionaries, right? Your internal dictionary determines how you define the world and everything in it. So all of us have internal dictionaries. None of them are the same. It's not possible. So your internal dictionary is made up of your childhood, your experiences, your neighborhood, your parents, your siblings, traumas, joys. Like, it's made up of everything that you've been through. So no two people, even if they lived in the same house, was born on the same day, no two people on the planet have the exact same experience. So because of that, no two people can have the exact same dictionary. Now, when you get married or you meet someone, you get in a relationship, if you guys speak the same language, like both of you speak English or you speak Chinese or whatever, but you speak the same language, you guys may have some of the same words in your dictionary, but they don't mean the same things. It's not possible, right? For example, so this is an example. I'm going to give you an example of how you could be causing your own pain, right? So one person grows up getting hugs. For them, so their meaning for hugs, when you hug them, when you hug them, hugging means I love you. Ain't nothing wrong with that, right? But they don't walk around saying, hey, hugs mean I love you. Like, we don't walk around saying words and then giving the definition of the meaning of the words as we talk, unless it's something that we think is uncommon, right? So this person loves hugs, and hugs mean I love you. But let's say they get in a relationship with someone who they grew up, and let's say their parents were manipulative, and whenever dad told them a lie, he would hug them. So their perception is hugs mean that you're manipulative. And so they kind of stray away from hugs. And so they get together. This person, the first time they meet, they may hug. And the person who sees hugs as, I'm going to say, a bad thing, doesn't really bother them, right? But as the relationship goes on, the person who likes the hugs wants to hug more, but the other person, they're hugging, and more so allowing the other person to hug them, but they're not saying, hey, this makes me uncomfortable. They're not sharing all the thoughts that they have in their head. As a matter of fact, what they're doing, it just makes them more aware. And so they're looking for other signs that this person is manipulative, right? So let's say this go on for about a year, and then they finally get married because the rest of they both think other things in the relationship, hey, it's good. And, okay, let's do that. So they get married. Now, they're having problems or whatever. They come see me. When they come see me, so I'm gonna say the one who has interpreted hugs as I love you, I'm gonna say that's the wife. Okay. So the wife says, he doesn't love me. I don't feel the love coming from him like I used to. Like, I feel like I'm not a priority on his list. And I say, why? And she starts listing things. I start addressing them, right? Okay, I see that. I could see how that can make you feel that way. That can make you feel that way. And then she mentions, and then he only hugged me like once a week. So in my mind, because I'm a third person, right? So I got my own definition of what hugs are. And so I'm thinking, okay, she likes hugs, and he only hugging her once a week. So I'm talking, hey man, so, why don't you hug your wife more than one time a week? And he's like, man, hugs ain't that big a deal to me, right? I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't really want to do that. And so he and I talk about that. After a while, when I say after a while, I mean over a few sessions, the more we talk, the more they begin to pull back more layers, because see, to them, for the husband, hugs meaning manipulation, to him, it's like common sense to him. he doesn't realize that the rest of the world don't think like him. You are the same way. The wife's the same way. So that wasn't the first thing that they said, right? So now the husband in the session finally says, I actually don't like hugging. Hugging makes me feel some kind of way, but that's all he gives. And then she says, well, you hugged me in the beginning. And to me, like, I feel loved when you hug me. I would love to be hugged every day. Right? Light comes on for the husband. Wait a minute. So you saying, like, when I hug you, it makes you feel loved? And she's like, yes. And she's crying. Husband is like, I had no idea. Because for me, hugs, like, I feel like you're trying to manipulate me. And that's why we in therapy, because I won't allow you to manipulate me. But I see that we're not seeing eye to eye. Now, here's the thing. The wife, throughout the relationship before they come see me, she's in a lot of pain. Why? Because she believes that her husband does not make her a priority. She believes that her husband is treating her unfairly and treating her unlovingly. You've heard the saying. You probably heard the saying. Perception is reality, right? So it doesn't matter as much if her husband loves her. What matters is if she perceives that he loves her. And if she don't, she's going to act accordingly, right? Does that make sense? So that's what I'm saying. You could be causing your own pain. So now that was an example. Another example well, this is kind of like a real situation. Now I better use an example. I don't do a real situation. So another example, wife comes in and she's talking about how her husband, same thing, doesn't love her, doesn't care about her, whatever. And she's crying. Like, I can see the heartbreak on her face, right? I can see that she is in distress, and it's real. She's not faking. But as we talk, what I realize is the reason she is so hurt and crushed is because of her perception of what love looks like, her perception of what a husband should be, what a wife should be, and it's off. It's not even like I had to ask her, like, did you make this up? Right? So your internal dictionary is going to define the world for you, right? So you can be in a relationship, experiencing your partner can be being a great person. If you don't perceive that, you can end up divorcing your reality because of an idea that you have in your head, right? I talked about that. When did I talk about that? I think I talked about that on the podcast also. But I have several videos on that about divorcing your ideas so you can stay married to your reality. So how do we fix this? Right? Okay. Thank you, sir. You've told me, I may be causing my own problems and, my own pain. So how do I fix it? First, before I get into how to fix it, let me say this. As always, I'm not talking about abusive relationships, like relationships where it's obviously abusive. I'm not talking to you, right? Domestic violence, I'm not talking to you. Okay. Emotional abuse, I'm not talking to you, right? I'm talking about, now I will say this. This may be a little controversial. People who experienced an affair, actually, I'm talking to you. I guess at a certain level, right? Not everybody, but when your partner cheats, the level of your pain will still be determined by your perception of the whole situation. It is. So anyway, back to what I was saying. So how do you fix it? The way that you fix it is by doing these three things. Okay. Number one, embrace humility. Embrace humility. Now, okay. So marriage, I'm talking about marriage. It applies to relationships too, but I like, I'm talking about. So marriage is God's idea. Why do I say that? Because it's important for you to understand that if marriage is God's idea, then the way that you're going to be successful at it is to do it the way he designed it to be done, right? So because marriage is God's idea, you can't be selfish and thrive at marriage. It's not, it will never work, right? So humility is the way that you take yourself off the high horse. So let me tell you what the opposite of humility is: pride, right? Did you know pride is at the root of 100% of divorces? 100%. Every divorce, the root of it is pride. And so the opposite of that is humility. So the first thing you got to do is embrace humility. That means I don't know everything. That means you have the mindset that something may be going on with my partner that I don't understand. There may be some information that I'm missing, right? Basically, stay teachable, stay coachable, but let me humble myself because something's not right. So the first thing, embrace humility. Here's the second thing. The second thing, learn to communicate well. Why? Because you cannot have any kind of effective relationship without good communication, and you need to be able to communicate the meanings of your internal dictionary to your partner. You need to be able to communicate that. Okay, so work on your communication skills, right? I guess this is a good place for me to plug my challenge. I wasn't intending on doing that, but my communication and conflict challenge is coming up at the beginning of December. If you want to improve your communication skills and conflict resolution skills, I encourage you to do that. Go to the website and check that out, because I don't want to go deep into that, but you got to be a better communicator. I heard somebody say, I can't remember where I heard that, but if you say it wrong, it's probably an indication that you're thinking it wrong. And if you think it wrong, how can you not live it wrong? Right? So get your communicate. And I said that to say, because sometimes, we're communicating and then we're not saying the right words, and we want folk to just understand, or we want people to just give us a pass. No. Your communication needs to be clear. Like, you need to speak with clarity, right? You need to be able to articulate the meanings in your dictionary in a way that your partner can understand. Why? Because you want them to understand you so that you guys can have unity. Like, you're not going to be able to have unity if y'all don't understand each other. Okay. And then the third thing you need is commit yourself to seeking understanding. You got to want to, you have to want to understand, right? So, currently when my wife does something that is way out of line, the first thing I look at is my eyes, because my mind just told me, hey, what she just did is way out of line. But then my emotional maturity says, well, hold on. Is that true, or are you seeing things? Right? So first, I'm trying to understand me. I'm trying to understand what I saw or what I heard or whatever the case. Most of the times, I'm not lying, most of the times, it's me and what I see. Most of the times I have to be like, you know what? That don't mean that. Or no, that's not what she said, or that's not what happened. And I do that because I study, that's a good word. I study my wife so that I can know her, so I know her heart. So if, let's say, she says or does something and I think she's being disrespectful, well, the first thing I examine, well, do I have a disrespectful wife? I don't. Like, my wife is hardly ever disrespectful. So then I may ask, why is this disrespect showing up here? Is it me? Am I just perceiving disrespect and it's not actually disrespect? After all of that, if I can't work through it on my own, then I go to my wife and I say, babe, when you said this, what did you mean? And then I let her tell me the meaning. I don't let what I saw and the meaning that's on my internal dictionary define how I'm going to interact with what's going on. No, I let her tell me. And then when it don't make sense, because you guys are different. You're not the same person. So sometimes when they give you an explanation, it ain't gonna make sense. But when it doesn't make sense, then I trust her character. And my humility says, you know what? Even though I don't understand it, it don't make sense to me, I'm going to believe that she had no ill intent. And then guess what I do? Let it go. Don't hurt no more. Let me run through these three, and then let me give you an example of, because all of this has to do with your perception, your mind, right? I'm gonna share something with you that happened to me yesterday, but let me run through these again first. So humility, better communication, and then seeking understanding. That will help you reduce a lot of the pain that you're experiencing in marriage. Not all of it. Some of it you need more training, right? You need to come see me, sit on my couch, right? And we do work. But it's probably going to be the same work. Your perceptions are off. I'm telling you, most of what you experience from your partner, you don't understand it. You don't understand. I was having a conversation with a guy this week, and he was saying, like if my partner is, let's say, we agreed that she's going to work on something. And I said, well, how do you know if she's working on it? And he said, well, I at least need to, she at least needs to be trying. I said, that's interesting. How do you know if she's trying? And then he gave me a list of things, I said, there's no way, it's impossible for you to know if she's trying, just all on your own. And I gave him an example. I said, I'm finna try to get up out the chair. And I said, okay, I'm finna try again. And then I asked him, I said, did I try to get out the chair? He said, do you need help? Are you an invalid? I'm like, no, I'm not any of that. He said, well, then no, you didn't try to get. I said, how do you know? Like, you can't tell me I wasn't trying to get out the chair just because you didn't see any movement, right? What if, so I'm full able to get out the chair, but what if there's a mental block somewhere, some kind of fear or something that's preventing me from doing what I've done before, what you've seen me do. So you've seen me get out the chair before. And when you seen me get out the chair, you assumed, oh, he can get out the chair. And so in this situation, when I say I can't, but I'm trying, you think I'm lying. Why? Because it don't make sense to you. But what you don't realize is something else is going on in my head, a mental block. I thought of a past trauma just in that moment, and now I'm frozen and I can't get up. But that don't make sense to you. So, and you can't, there's no way for you to prove that I'm not trying. But you know what we do all the time? We will punish our partner, label them as not trying, and then we'll add an emotion to that. I can't believe you would treat me this way. I can't believe you would do this to me. Relationships are complex because we human beings are complex, right? And we really are. You don't see what you think you see. You don't know what you think you know. So let me tell you what happened just yesterday. And I'm going to talk about this again, but I want to share it with you now. So yesterday, I was self-examining, right? I self-examine a lot because I'm always checking for cancer, not physical cancer, but emotional cancers and mental cancer. So I'm self-examining, and I noticed a spot on my soul, if so to speak, right? And so I started processing. I'm like, man, do I have this problem? So then I called my wife. And I was asking her some questions because she don't have this problem. And I was asking her, hey, so when this happens, how do you do this? Like, what's your mindset when this happens? And so we're talking about it, and I start to feel bad because I've done a lot of work, like a lot of childhood work. Like, I can't be an effective therapist and coach if I haven't done the things that I'm coaching you to do, right? So, I've done a lot of work. And I'm like, man, what's wrong with me? So, me and my wife talking about this, and I'm thinking in my head, what's wrong with me? Like, why is this an issue for me? And I got down on myself. Okay. So that was around lunchtime. Fast forward, maybe like 2-3 hours. I talked to a colleague, And I'm sharing it with him. He's a therapist. So I'm sharing it with him. And as I'm sharing it with him, his response was completely different. Now, this brother, I kind of, he's been doing this for over 20 years. So I respect his opinion, right? So he says, well, like, what's wrong with that? Is it harming you when you do that? And like, are you harming other people? Is it people saying that they don't like it? Like, why is it bothering you? Like, maybe that's just how you are, and what's wrong with that? If it's not harming you, if it's not causing you problems, why is that an issue for you? When I got off the phone with him, my perception of myself was different. What changed in the world? Like, what changed in the physical world? As a matter of fact, what changed in my world? Nothing. Not one thing changed. The only thing that changed was my mind. And here's the point. It's kind of connected to, so I'm talking about perception. So I saw myself a certain way early on, and that caused me to interact with myself a certain way. I was sad. I saw myself as not good enough, right? My behavior followed my beliefs about me or my thoughts about me. Later on, when I changed my thoughts about me, my interaction with myself changed. Nothing else on the planet changed except what was going on in my mind. And that's, to me, that's really powerful, because a lot of you're afraid of things. You got certain anxieties. You see yourself in a negative light, and all of those things keep you from doing the things that you truly desire to do. The only thing holding you back is you and how you think about it. Get over what I call the mind monsters so that you can live freely in the same way. If you don't embrace humility, become a better communicator, and seek understanding, i.e., if you continue to walk in pride, you're going to hurt yourself, because the things that are in your mind, no one can control but you, no one can see but you, no one can understand but you. But if you have wrong thinking, you're going to have wrong living. If you have, watch this, painful thinking, you're going to have painful living. And that won't be on your partner. Because here's the thing, your partner could learn all of your triggers, all of your perceptions or whatever, and then try to change themselves to fit, contort themselves or to fit into this box. But then if they do that, they're not being authentic, right? So that's you trying to stay married to your idea instead of embracing your reality. All right. So I hope this was helpful for you. Just be mindful that your relationship may not be as bad as you think. Look, soon I'm going to tell, when my wife gives me the green light, the permission, I'm going to tell the whole story about how our marriage has transitioned from amazing. That's the beginning. Like, everything's amazing in the beginning, right? From amazing to what in the world is this, to amazing 2.0. Like, the bulk of that for both of us happened not because either one of us changed major behavior, but because we changed our minds. We changed our minds. When I grew and changed my mind about how I see things my marriage got better. And there was a time when I was like, yeah, I don't know how we're going to make it in this. I felt like I had signed up for a lifetime of misery because I was not getting another divorce, period, point blank. So I was just going to be miserable. But thanks be to God, humility and some mentors, Dr. Rick Marks and Maggie and some other folk. Thanks be to God that I was able to mature and see, hey, a big part of your problem, if not all of your problem, is you. You will always, until you leave the planet, you will always be your biggest problem. Your biggest enemy will always be your inner me. Your biggest enemy will always be your inner me. You feel me? So work on that. That is why the number one characteristic, in my opinion, for someone who is qualified, let's say marriage material, they have to be committed to personal development. If you're not committed to personal development, you will suffer majorly in every area, but especially relationships. All right. Okay. Hope that was helpful for you guys. And check out the podcast on Monday. And drop me some comments and let me know what you think about the content that I'm sharing. Because I'm trying to be, I want to be useful. Is that the right word? I think that's the right word. I want to be useful for you, right? I want you to be able to take what I'm sharing with you, apply it to your relationship, and then do better. That's the goal, right? All right. Y'all take care.